I'm gonna pray for you.
But social media is a great barometer for this for me, because putting out a video of myself 9 months pregnant was a really big choice, but I also wanted people to see themselves in my story and our story.
But you put that out there and some people, like, they tear it apart, you know?
I'm sure they did, I don't know. But I also protect myself from seeing that.
Every day, you search for your name and there's like 1,000 different news stories about 1,000 different things.
I guess the distinction there is those people don't know me and they're not talking about me. And that's a really hard place to come to terms with. But that's the truth. So if you can really compartmentalize it and go, oh, right, there is a very, very powerful machine, and it's all about generating income. Those stories aren't just appearing because it's fun. Clickbait has a huge financial implication. And so if I'm part of an SEO and that gets them more clickbait, then yes, they're incentivized to churn out as many stories, false or damaging or whatnot, to feed the beast, because that's paying them. And I think a lot of people forget the economic element of it. And I think from my standpoint, that's why I don't look at it. It would be very hard to see anything about yourself that isn't true. And I think from my standpoint, that's why I don't look at it. I'm Megan, and this is Confessions of a Female Founder, a show where I chat with female entrepreneurs and friends.
I listened to episode 1 of Megan's podcast, so you don't have to. I mean, you can if you want to, but you don't have to. I didn't even really want to. When I heard that Megan said that she had pre-eclampsia, I'm not going to say that she didn't have it, but I'm going to tell you something. I suffered from it when I delivered my twins in 2013. And I have quite a few things to say about it. And I'm sorry if I seem a little bit upset. Hopefully I'll just kind of relax a little bit. But I thought it was a very, very important thing to talk about, because I don't really feel that it was addressed properly. If you're going to talk about the fact that you suffered from it, then you need to give your audience a little bit more context and a little bit of an explanation. Of course, you don't have to go into your complete medical history. That's what I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that she has to do that. However, I think it is doing her listeners a real disservice by not at least talking a little bit more about it, or at least asking her guest, Whitney, about it. And why mention it at all on a business podcast, on a podcast that's supposed to be talking about business? She had notes and she did not use these notes. So this is what Megan says, quote, "I love that so much. I have all these notes I haven't looked down on. I haven't looked at any of my notes. I'm sure I've missed all sorts of points. But I mean, I've just loved being able to chat, because I think it's our friendship coming through, and also just who we are as moms, as women, as people who have gone through our own unique experiences, but are able to see it through a lens of how I can help other women specifically and all." I think we all kind of knew what we were going to be in for, that there wasn't going to be any actual business talk. But there is zero business talk in this, you guys, zero. 7 minutes into the podcast and all these two are doing, and don't get me wrong, I'm sure Whitney, she sounds very nice. She sounds very lovely. But 7 minutes into the episode of this podcast and all they're doing is complimenting and fawning over one another. But there's no meat 7 minutes in. And I have in my notes here, 17 minutes in, they're framing their narratives, talking about how they've been a victim, how they've been victimized in their personal lives and in their professional lives. 17 minutes in on a podcast that I think it's 45, 49 minutes. How does she market? This is the type of thing that women in business want to know. We're not going to get it, ladies and gentlemen. We're not going to get it because she takes a really long time to talk, and she really is very precise with her voice inflections and the way that she speaks. And to me, she's got a newscaster type voice where I just really want to tell her, drop the whole newscaster persona. It's what she did in Archetypes. She was very, very formal the way that she spoke, but then it's odd. It's newscaster-like, but then with a lot of sighing and stuff like that. She wants to build, I believe, a false sense of intimacy with people that she's with. And she also wants to come across as being the type of person that can instantly build strong, intimate relationships with people so that I guess somehow she'll come across as more relatable. Again, I've said this over and over. She's always trying to sell herself. She doesn't have to do that. She doesn't have to sell anything about herself to us. Just give us the goods. Talk to us about the business stuff. So the revelation of how negatively Meghan was being treated, brutalized, as Whitney said. She said, I was walking through the airport in Ireland. I stopped through the airport in Ireland. Yes, my hit the floor. You were the cover of every single newspaper and magazine in Ireland. Every single one said something different. I mean, random headline. You were the cover of every single one of those magazines. What are they talking about? There's no content. There's nothing to say. I just had this moment where I was like, wow, this is a different beast. And then Meghan says to her, but it doesn't feel different whether it's at that scale or not. And then she says to Meghan, it takes a very, very strong cookie to go through a media storm like that. And Meghan says, yeah, that was a couple of years ago. And what she's probably referencing is the firestorm in the media, the aftermath of what their Netflix series produced in the press, because they were hurling some very, very serious accusations at the royal family, both in the Oprah interview and in the Netflix documentary. So for both of these women to sit back and kind of posture and just be aghast and clutch their pearls as to, it was so mindless and so out of left field and just so, how incredulous to have all this negative press attention. Well, Harry and Meghan opened up a public conversation about it because they chose to sit down in front of a camera and levy accusations about their families to a national audience. So of course, newspapers and media and commentators and just normal Joes on social media are going to have things to say about it. So it's not like something happened in her life that she wanted to keep private, but it came out in the press and it was being reported on. It's like, no. What's happening is a reaction to things that they are doing. And Meghan had said at one point something about false assumptions in the podcast. And I'm thinking to myself, it's not a false assumption. We are going by things that you are doing. We're forming opinions about you and your character because of things that you are doing and have done and have continued to do in the 5 years since you left that family. So she just expects that she's going to tell us who she is and what she's about, and that's going to be enough, and that it should be enough, and we should all just pipe down. When don't look at what she's doing, don't look at what she has done. That's irrelevant because she's telling us who she is, and you cannot have it both ways. How they abused you and your family, and how they basically led her to want to unalive herself while she was pregnant with her first child. You're leveling some serious things, and that's what everyone's talking about. All these things that you're talking about on the Netflix show. But I guess we're not supposed to talk about it. Is it just supposed to be that she has, Netflix and she has CBS and all these major outlets in her corner and all these newspapers and puff rags like people? She can put out all the stuff that she wants, but then no one can kind of say anything or even report on it. It's just very strange. And Harry has always just been very angry at the press. I'm not going to go into the whole Diana thing, but we all know that Diana was a wonderful person. She was beloved, but people that knew her also said that Diana also knew how to work the press when she needed to. Okay, so she wasn't a saint. She was a human being. She never claimed to be perfect. She wasn't wearing a seatbelt the night that she died. Okay, that has not been in dispute. So there's so many factors that went into her death. Harry has always framed the press in the sense that the press unalived his mother and the press is out to unalive his wife, and that they won't stop until she is no more, which I think is a real black and white, not very measured or reasonable way to look at things. And it doesn't account for human frailty and things that might have occurred, that his, choices his mom has made. There's just so many things here, but it's all about the media is the big baddie that Harry is looking under the bed at night, every night, to make sure that they're not out to get him, when he uses it at every moment that he wants to put his narrative out there. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about. He wants to use the media to further his narratives, but if anybody writes anything about him that he disagrees with, they are the devil. Their pasts, and Whitney talks about how she has had bad relationships and she didn't love herself enough and she tolerated bad treatment, and she talks about how hurt people hurt others. And I'm thinking to myself, because Meghan doesn't really chime in at that point at all. And the first thing I thought about was how she broke up with her husband Trevor by sending her wedding rings through the post back to Trevor. Wow, that is a hurt person hurting somebody else. And then the two women start talking about self-love and loving yourself and all this kind of stuff, which I'm going to get into a little bit. I'm all for having a healthy level of self-respect and self-esteem, but the word salad was off the charts. Tell me if you can follow along with this, or if it's just me. You create a space with the intention, even if it morphed into something that ended up dating aligned. The root, the origin was still about autonomy, self-love, making sure that you could really advocate for yourself and be in a relationship, or even the possibility of a relationship that's rooted in something that's healthy, because it was so authentic to you. That's how you ended up scaling to the tremendous success that you were.
What the hell are you talking about? Who are you talking to?
I mean, I don't really understand this, but she's going on at length about self-love, and looking at my notes here, how loving yourself is a revolutionary act. I think that we could probably argue that Meghan loves herself a whole heck of a lot, because she has made the narrative that she puts out in the public for the last 5-6 years all about her and everything that she's been through and she's had to suffer. That's really indicative of what's wrong with our culture. Pretty much since the 1960s, it's been all about the focus on the individual. And I think it's reached epidemic proportions now with the advent of social media and everyone's look at me. It's this self-absorbed grandiosity, which is so characteristic of people with narcissistic personality disorders. It's all about the self-love and the self-importance to the exclusion of others, to the exclusion of others' feelings and their well-being and their experiences. It just represents the idea of self-love, but taken to the extreme where the focus is so much on the sense of self that you don't really have time, the energy or inclination to really give a hoot about anybody else. As humans, we are all about self-preservation. We are all about wanting to protect ourselves and make sure that we advance and we move forward and we are seen and heard. But it's gotten to the point in our culture where people don't care about other people anymore. Meghan represents those personality traits, which can start out okay and can start out healthy, but it morphs into unhealthy levels and it turns into almost self-worship. So I'm just getting really, really tired of this whole girl boss, look after yourself, you're the most important type of narratives. And she's still, I think, in 2015 when this girl boss thing was huge. So that's this idea and this thing that she still wants to perpetuate and throw out into the media. But she's doing it because she's trying to say, I was a victim, but now I'm going to self-love and I'm going to come out and I'm going to triumph. And no one needs to feel sorry for her, least of all herself. She's been afforded every single opportunity. She has built up her image at this point where she is now. She got the name recognition and the worldwide fame through marriage. I mean, let's call it what it is. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. But then to frame yourself as a victim, it's just so tiresome. It's old. She had preeclampsia. I'm just gonna read to you the transcript. And Meghan says, and we both had very similar experiences that we didn't know each other at the time with postpartum. And Whitney says, yeah. And Meghan says, and we both had eclampsia. Can you believe we both had it? It's so rare, Whitney says. And Meghan says, it's so rare. And Whitney says, and so scary. Meghan says, yeah, it's scary. And then Meghan continues, and you go and you're still trying to juggle all of these things and the world doesn't know what's happening quietly. And in the quiet, you're still trying to show up for people. And in the quiet, you're still just trying to show up mostly for your children. But those things are huge medical scares. And Whitney says, I mean, life or death, truly, it's really scary. Whitney talks about how she will never forget the image of Meghan presenting Archie to the world a couple of days after his birth. And Whitney says, quote, like, how is this woman putting on heels and going and debuting a child in this beautiful outfit in front of the entire world? Like, I could barely face a doorbell delivery for takeout food. Okay, you guys, so... and taking this story to task is because Harry said in his book Spare, now if we're talking about Archie, now mind you, she does not say whether the preeclampsia that she experienced happened with Archie or with her daughter Lily. However, it's strongly alluded to the fact that it more than likely was with Archie because Meghan doesn't correct Whitney. So the listener is probably, and rightly so, led to believe that this is something that she experienced with the birth of Archie. And if that is indeed the case, then I don't understand why in Harry's book Spare, he said that they were released back from the hospital, from the Portland Hospital in London, and back at Frogmore Cottage within 2 hours of delivery. If a woman suffered from preeclampsia, it is highly unlikely that she would be discharged on the same day, never mind 2 hours after delivery. Now, I don't know if she had a hospital set up in Frogmore Cottage and a whole medical team around her. She's never given us any explanation. She's never given us any context. And that was my big problem with that. And I'm going to explain to you a little bit about what this condition is, what happened to me. They're bringing it up, but then they're not going into it at all. This is a shared life or death medical trauma. They both say it. It's a life or death medical illness. Why not talk about it just a little bit more? Give us some context. I was a geriatric pregnancy when I had my twins. I had just turned 39 years old the month prior. They were born in April and I turned 39 in March. So I was what was considered a geriatric pregnancy. That is one of the factors that can contribute to preeclampsia and eclampsia. Also having more than one baby. So I had two factors. I was delivering twins and I was 39 years old. But to give you guys a little bit of context and a little bit of explanation, because Meghan didn't. So if my story can help anybody, that's why I'm telling it. So I delivered my twins April 2013. I was living in London at the time. My husband was working. We delivered at the Portland Hospital, which is again why this story feels really close to home for me. I had gone a little bit over 35 weeks. And if you're pregnant with twins, that's considered full term. I was experiencing symptoms of high blood pressure. My extremities were swelling. My vision was starting to get blurred. I was in close communication with my medical staff, my consultant in London at the time. They were monitoring my condition. My blood pressure had been rising steadily in the weeks prior to delivering, and they also noticed that my blood platelet counts were starting to get low. So I checked into the hospital because my doctor said, get your butt into the hospital. I checked in, and about 20 minutes after check-in on that evening, I started bleeding out. So that's why they decided to do an emergency C-section then. The babies were fine, they were healthy, everything was okay, but my preeclampsia started about 4 hours after I delivered them. So someone might have been listening to this podcast, might not even really know what preeclampsia is. Maybe they are pregnant and they really wanted to know. I'm gonna share with you how my journey went. At the onset, my blood pressure was 230/130. I was being monitored throughout the night. I received what they call booster shots of magnesium sulfate, and that is meant to calm and get the blood pressure down. Because what preeclampsia basically is, it's a disorder of extremely high blood pressure. And what it can lead to is something called eclampsia, which is when the body's blood pressure gets so high that the woman starts experiencing seizures. Meghan says that she developed preeclampsia after she delivered the baby, which is what happened to me. So it's characterized by extremely high blood pressure, which can eventually lead to seizures if untreated. It's also characterized by extremely high levels of protein in the urine. And the reason why that needs to be addressed is because when you have high volume of protein in the urine, that usually means that your kidneys and other organs are being affected. The kidneys are what effectively filter out the proteins in our bloodstream. And when the kidneys start failing and getting affected, that protein can leak into the urine. So that's a test that doctors do to determine if someone is in preeclampsia or is in danger of developing it. Another super scary thing about preeclampsia is that it can also lead to a condition called HELP syndrome. I developed HELP syndrome, and what that is an acronym for is basically for hemolysis. I'll put it up on the screen, but that's basically when your red blood cells, it's the destruction of them. They start dying. It also stands for elevated liver enzymes and low platelet count. That means low platelets in your bloodstream. At the worst of my ordeal, my blood platelet count was 48. That's considered class 1 HELP syndrome. They classify it class 1, 2, and 3, and class 1 is the most severe. And 48 basically means a 48,000 unit liter measurement of the platelets in your bloodstream. So that means that that's really low count. Now, the normal range I have here in my notes is between 150 and 450, and I was at around 118 the day before I delivered, and my doctor was telling my husband that at 80, it's considered extremely serious. So by the time all was said and done with me, I was at about 48. Now, I was administered bolster shots over the period of an entire evening in an effort to try to lower my elevated heart rate. You don't want a crazy high heart rate because then your body starts going into seizures. Point being, this is a very serious thing. And I'm not even gonna say that how dare she bring it up now, because, you know, time and place, if she wanted to bring it up now and it really happened to her, fine. But what I'm saying is if you're gonna bring it up, you need to talk about it a little bit more. Don't just mention it in passing, because she has the reputation of wanting and loving to play the victim. She has the reputation of constantly trying to garner sympathy from the public. So if you're just gonna throw a tidbit out there that, oh, we both had it, but then not ask your guest about her experiences with it or not relay your own experiences with it to your audience, what are you trying to do with it? Women that might not know it exists and how to look out for the warning signs so that it won't progress into that. Or maybe talk about it so that the people that have gone through it can maybe get to know you better and understand you a little bit more. So HELP syndrome is awful too, and it's a serious complication of preeclampsia. Let's talk about it, Meghan. You might not have suffered from HELP syndrome, but you suffered from preeclampsia. Give us a little bit, give us something. What are the warning signs? What can we do to be proactive about it? Nothing. I don't want to get too crazy about this, but when it happens to you, you do kind of get a little nutty. You don't really understand until you go through something and then you realize it. She threw out one little snippet, one little quip, and that is, I guess, supposed to be enough. Even though it was something that was apparently life and death, but she's just gonna throw out one sentence and then that's gonna be it. I don't understand the intent there. Unless you're gonna talk about it, why bring it up? So I wasn't there, you weren't there. She says that she suffered from this. I have some questions, but we got absolutely nothing. And she does like to go at length about things that have happened to her. She will go on about grievances and travesties that happened back in 2018 regarding bridesmaids' dresses, but yet she doesn't really go into too much detail about the things that she has decided to tell us about, like the fact that now she has suffered from this pre-eclampsia stuff. So you're really tight-lipped on the things that could probably actually help somebody, but I don't understand. Make this make sense to me. Anyone watching this video today that has gone through pre-eclampsia, eclampsia, or HELLP syndrome, or anyone you know or love has gone through this, I just want to say I'm so sorry. I support you. You are awesome. Pre-eclampsia, eclampsia, and HELLP syndrome is not a small thing. They are actually a little bit more common because more and more women are having babies later in life, so they're considered geriatric pregnancies. A lot of women have high blood pressure and a lot of stress in their lives, or if they have that running in their family. So long story short, it is not something that is so extremely rare and, you know, this crazy thing that no one ever sees. Actually, quite the contrary. So there are things to know about it, symptoms to look out for. That's all I wanted from Meghan. That's all I wanted her to do, if you're gonna bring it up.
About the sleepless nights, the lessons learned, and the laser focus that got them to where they are today. We're diving into the highs and the lows.
I'm sitting there the next day. I've pissed off everybody. I'm broke.
Oh no.
I feel like I need a friend. I wore black today because I believe it's fitting, because I feel that we are attending a funeral, and that is the funeral of Meghan's podcast. There were only the 8 episodes, and I guess that is what we are looking at. And this podcast, you guys, again, you know I try to be as fair as I can. You know I try to be as diplomatic as I can. I am praying for Harry and Meghan. I am praying for these fools.
I'm gonna pray for you.
I don't like to see people flounder and fail like this, but you reap what you sow. And this podcast is just so incredibly, it's infuriatingly boring. It's been a complete and total ratings disaster. It's supposed to be a podcast about female founders and entrepreneurs and how to succeed in business. There's no business advice to be had. She does have some women on there that are somewhat successful, some more so than others, but we're talking millionaires to even up to billionaires, but there's no real knowledge. There's nothing being shared that could help a regular person listening, that can inspire them or give them real concrete action steps to move forward to propel a business. It's just a bunch of self-grandiose, posturing. Usually it feels like Meghan and her guest are giving each other tongue baths of compliments. It's so infuriating. There's a lack of focus. I mean, I could go on and on and on. We all know that Spotify didn't renew their contract with her. And even one of the executives, Bill Simmons, was famously quoted on a podcast as saying that her and Harry are just effing grifters.
Who cares about your life? You weren't even like the favorite son.
That's
I
enough
can't
then.
stand him. So tired. I'm
Yeah.
so embarrassed that I have to share Spotify with him. The guy sucks.
They don't want to work. They didn't want to come up with any ideas. They were floundering. And do you remember when they first talked about what they were going to release with Spotify? This was probably back in I want to say December 2021. But do you remember that their first podcast venture was supposed to be Meghan and Harry together in their Archwell audio podcast, where they were going to talk to change makers and humanitarians and different people out in the world and in the culture, voices that they wanted to amplify.
Should we start? No? Ladies first?
No, say it, because I think it sounds really nice with your accent.
What, Archwell Audio?
Yeah.
Archwell Audio.
I mean,
Really?
shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
What the hell are you talking about? Who you talking to?
Hi, guys. I'm Harry.
And I'm Megan.
One of the things my husband and I have always talked about is our passion for meeting people and hearing their stories. No matter what the story, they offer you an understanding of where someone is coming from, and at the same time remind you in some way about yourself.
That's what this project is all about, to bring forward different perspectives and voices and find our common ground. Because when that happens, change really is possible.
Woo! And you know, this is also a moment to celebrate kindness and compassion, which will underlie everything you hear from Archwell Audio.
But that never came to fruition, and it ended up just being Meghan on her Archetype podcast, and that's when everything went downhill. They're probably paying her for downloads. She's probably not making a whole heck of a lot. So I think what we are witnessing is the death of podcast number 2 for this woman. She just released 12 episodes for Archetypes, and now she's releasing 8 for this Confessions of a Female Founder. What kind of work ethic is this? The way that people run their shows now, especially people that are creators and podcasters on YouTube and just on, Apple and Spotify, they just have a podcast and they just turn on their mic, turn on their camera, and they talk, whether they have help in the way of production teams and editors or whether they're people like me. They just turn on a camera and they talk. They don't say, I'm going to release X amount of episodes for a season and then who knows whether or not I'll be back. That's not really how it is. I mean, if they want to convey a message, if they want to build a brand, if they want to be out there and they want to build an audience and they want to build a community and they want to have people and just create just some type of relationship with people, they just go and they talk and they keep going and they keep talking. Why is it that people like Meghan are doing these shows, but they're only doing a set amount? I mean, how lazy do you have to be? Someone like her, if she wants to succeed in media, in podcast media, and this is now her second go around, she's going to have to commit to just having that podcast and continuing to show up and to deliver something for her audience, because nobody has a knack like Meghan does for any type of guest that she has on a podcast, turning it into a complete and total snorefest. And she did it with Archetypes. Remember, she had people like Mariah Carey, Paris Hilton, Serena Williams, and she managed to make those episodes, those types of magnetic personalities, to be a complete and total snorefest. She's always saying things like, oh, I've got just tons of questions, but I'm just veering off of my question list and I just have to ask this because, whatever they happen to be talking about in the moment is so much more interesting than your ha 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 he he back and forth. We don't care. Just give us the meat. She's trying to sell us her personality, thinking that that's enough, but she doesn't have a likable personality. So if you don't have a likable personality, you can do either one of two things. You can just say, okay, well, why don't I just at least teach my audience something? Which she could have maybe done if she would have brought some meat and some real substance to that With Love Meghan series. She didn't teach anybody anything. What did she show us? How to put dried flour sprinkles on shortbread cookies. So if you can't entertain us because you don't have a likable personality and you can't teach us anything either on your podcast or on your show, the only other thing that's left for her to do is to do a reality show where the full beast of her personality is on display and where she doesn't make any excuses for it. That's really the only thing that's left for her. She's gonna have to produce a Kardashian type show and actually let us in so we can see these faceless children for ourselves. So we can see Harry, up close and personal, probably stoned out of his mind, stumbling out of the attic somewhere. Like, we're going to have to see them together. We're going to have to see the dynamic. Show us all of it. Show us a show where you are talking about all your business ventures and how they failed and how you guys are coping with it. Now that is something that people would watch. Real and raw. Don't make excuses for yourself. If you have the type of personality that no one likes, but at least you come out and you say, this is who I am. This is my personality. This is what I've been through. This is my perspective. She could at least maybe get more than hate watching, maybe get a few more people on the Meghan train and maybe applaud her for at least being open and honest about who she really is. But she doesn't want to do this. someone really, really needs to have an intervention with this woman. She has such an impossible sense of self-importance. She really does feel as if she is God's gift in every single instance. She's God's gift to podcasting. She's God's gift to Netflix because she can put on a show about hospitality and elevating the ordinary every day. You're promised that and you watch it, but you're just watching her rebag pretzels. You are going to teach us how to be as cool and enlightened and wonderful as you. But it's just, yeah, she's saying it's great to be able to share this with you. And she's wishing us all the best and loads of success in whatever we're going to build and whatever we're going to do. Okay, well, if we're going to have loads of success, it ain't going to be from this podcast. I would rather just go to the search bar on YouTube and just type in how to start a business, depending on what kind of business you want to start, whether it's a food truck or a brick and mortar hair salon or whatever. Just type that in. Just go how to start a food truck, how to start a hair salon, and just hit enter, and a bajillion videos will pop up that'll be 10 million times better than this drivel. You guys, the only thing this woman has is to divorce Harry and write a memoir. And trust me on this, it is coming. It might not be now, it might not be 5 years from now, but I'm telling you, it's gonna happen. I don't think they are going to last, and it's sad because they are married in the Church of England, and I don't know if it's a sacrament in their church the way it is in my church, the Catholic Church, but in any event, it still is a holy union, which I know for sure is probably going to dissolve because she's not going to want to hang out with Harry anymore because he doesn't really have much to offer her. But yeah, so that's what we have coming, guys. Tell-all divorce memoir. So hang tight for that one. It's coming. I tell you what, I have not seen such a pathetic and desperate bid for attention in a really, really long time. The video was just so disgusting. And I think I was like a lot of other people in thinking that, was this woman's account hacked? Was her Instagram hacked? Is this a joke? This cannot be real. Is this AI? What is happening right now? Why are my eyeballs bleeding? There's been a lot of media attention regarding this little stunt she pulled that's been the Meghan show for the last 5.5 years. It's starting to come to what I believe is a crescendo. Like, it's just getting so weird and so off the charts crazy. At this point, I don't know what else she's going to be cooking up because can it get any worse than this? I don't know. Again, this is a clip or a video, whatever, that she posted to celebrate her daughter Lily's 4th birthday. Nothing screams, I'm a proud mother of my 4-year-old daughter, like twerking like a stripper in a hospital room. Am I right? Okay, so here we go. Notice how she's setting herself up. She's making sure she's in shot, right? She's making sure that she's like, all eyes are on her. I'm not even really going to comment on that buffoon. Okay, so she's doing dance moves that we all did in the 90s. This is 90s stuff. This is like mid 90s, like, come on, ride the train and ride it, right? Yeah. Oh, we have to. Sorry. Oh. Yep, that is so like lasso, bring him in. This is like 90s stuff, guys. Oh gosh. Well, okay, the twerking out. Okay, that was the first go around. So we just watched it, okay? So notice how she started it out, making sure that all eyes were on her, that she was completely centered in frame. So that is her bid for attention. All eyes have to be on her. He's just the side piece going in and out of frame just because Harry hates being a spare to his brother and to his family, but he's a spare in his marriage. isn't that just desserts? The first thing I thought of when I watched this was, do you guys remember when she was wearing that all silver outfit and a lot of people were criticizing her dance moves, saying that she had no rhythm and it just looked really stilted and weird? Anytime she is criticized or called out for something, you know how she mentally files everything away so that she can clap back at the opportune time. And I really feel like this had a lot to do with her just trying to show that she's got rhythm, that she's really, really, really cool and can dance and actually has dance moves. Now, she has probably hours and hours and hours of film ready to go and upload at any moment for any opportunity, so she can monetize herself and monetize her situation, whatever is going on at that time. Of course, she knows everyone that talks about whether or not those are really her children, whether or not she really carried them. This is not how pregnant women act when they are about to give birth. And when I say this isn't how they act, meaning they're not this flexible, they are not able to gyrate this low, they're not able to twerk without some type of help getting up. And I was very big, obviously. Full term for pregnant women with twins is about 34 to 35 weeks. I went to 35 and a half, so I was ginormous. I was like afloat in a parade. But she appears pretty big in this video. Pretty big to me to deliver just one. And she claims that she was late with both of her babies, but there is no way that she could be able to gyrate and have this center of balance. I mean, I am sorry. Other than yoga, she's never really talked about any type of love of physical activity in the way that, say, a Catherine does, because we all know Catherine is very athletic. But this woman is not. She's really just known for posing in yoga pants on her TIG blog and showing how flexible she was, like she's a pretzel. But this twerking, especially when she gets down really low, the whole center of gravity thing is very off. It's just off to me. And more than that, the bump itself, to me, when I first saw this, it looked like she had tissue paper shoved up under there. If indeed this woman did give birth to these children and to Lily in this video, she's not doing herself any favors, because the way that she is presenting, it really does defy logic. It defies the laws of physicality, what a pregnant woman can and can't do. And when you are overdue with just one baby, I mean, not even talking about two, like how I was. I mean, what's happening here is just really, really not even possible in my mind and in my experience and in all the videos and commentary that I've watched it. I've read comments on my videos before. I've read comments on other creators' videos, and comment after comment after comment of women who are either nurses in the medical field, labor and delivery ward nurses, or women that have been pregnant numerous times. They all point to the fact that your center of gravity is off. You're basically waddling around. You need help. It's painful. You're swollen. And then she was also talking about having preeclampsia, postpartum preeclampsia. Don't forget. If you have postpartum preeclampsia, that obviously manifests after the birth of the baby, but you would still have symptoms that would preclude that. So she would have been probably unusually swollen. She would have had an elevated heartbeat. She would have had a lot of things going on that would have prevented her from dancing and acting a fool like this. So that is just, to me, just raises so many red flags. And I'm not really a conspiracy theorist in the sense that I don't think that they have children at all. I've said before, I do think that they have children. My whole thing is I don't really trust her narrative about how those children were brought into existence, okay? She is not behaving like a woman who is pregnant. I'm sorry, but if you have any type of wherewithal, moral compass, normal anxiety about being a good mother and having a good and safe delivery, you're not going to carry on like this lunatic does. This is what you're associating the birth of your daughter with. What makes sense about this entire thing? Absolutely nothing. There is no rhyme or reason. That's why it's so unbelievably dangerous to have her and her husband, Prince Harold, associated with the monarchy at this point, because these two are obviously unhinged. They're obviously flying by the seat of their pants, doing everything that they can to remain relevant, to keep themselves in the news. But at what cost? They're damaging the brand of the monarchy that they so desperately want to be associated with. And it just boggles the mind. Whoever, however, whatever we can do to get these two and their ties to the British monarchy cut, it needs to happen, because every single time that they do something like this, it completely cheapens the brand. It makes everyone cringe. It makes everyone recoil in horror. We watch stuff like this and we're thinking, why? What is the point? There is no point. This woman is scrambling day by day, minute by minute, in order to remain relevant. She's back in her Montecito mansion and she is listening to stories and videos from creators, people talking about why they don't believe that she gave birth to these children, why they believe she had a surrogate, all these types of conspiracy theory videos, right? So say she's watching hours and hours of that. So then she gets this bright idea in her head that she's going to release a video that shows her pregnant, generously pregnant, about to give birth, and twerking. And that's going to somehow prove to us that she was indeed pregnant. And moreover, it's going to show that she's cool and she has rhythm and they're just so relatable and we should just love them. But you cannot run and try to manage a public persona in the way that Meghan is doing this. It's too haphazard. It's too crazy. It's too all over the place. And what it really seems like to me is just whatever combination of booze or pills she's taken that particular day determines her media strategy. Because when you think about it, either you want to be associated with the British royal family and you want to command respect, or you want to renounce the titles, cut ties, and continue on with your commercial ventures and continue on with your fun and just upbeat, cool Instagram grid where you just want to act a fool on any given day. But you cannot have both. The public cannot keep up. 1 minute, she's slicing a pineapple with a Cartier watch on her Netflix show, and the next minute she's gyrating, showing us her pregnant belly and her dress hiked up practically to her crotch. But you know what I mean? That is what Meghan is putting on permanent record, on the books. Anytime anyone talks about her daughter or anything, this video is going to pop up. This video is going to haunt her. She genuinely thinks that this was a cool, relatable, fun thing to do. And there were reports coming out in the media this past week where she was basically saying, the Americans love this. The Americans jive with this. We're so more relaxed. We're more laid back. We love that people let loose and do this kind of thing. And it's the uppity Brits that don't like this type of stuff. Actually, no. It's everybody. No one likes this kind of stuff. No one wants to see this woman continuously jam herself down our throats, especially in an effort to appear to be likable and appear to be relatable. I'm sorry, but normal people, I'm a normal, you're a normal. What was our first reaction when we watched that video? Our first reaction was to be embarrassed for her. It's not fun to watch women in our culture day in and day out on social media parade around half naked, thinking that they are somehow in their feminine power to do so, when actually all they're doing is degrading themselves. And that's my personal opinion. Now, mind you, when I was 20, 25 years old, in my 20s, did I dress the way that I would now as a woman 51? Well, no. But then again, I was away from my faith. I was away from my church. I didn't really see myself as the precious child of God that I do now. Even my daughter looks at people doing what Meghan has done, and even she at 12 years old can look at something like that and say, Mama, that is gross. I don't ever want to behave like that. I don't want to be a mama and have my daughter see me behave like that. That's as simple and as true and as real as it can get. So beyond the fact that she's tarnishing the royal brand, beyond the fact that she is just making a fool of herself in general, she's debasing herself. She's a mother of 2. She's a wife. And she is carrying on as if she is a 19-year-old sorority girl. I don't even know if this woman has any self-worth left. I don't know what she's chasing. You don't have to chase fame and money and notoriety like this. She's chasing fame, but she's only getting infamy. People have an overwhelmingly negative opinion of her. And it's because of this type of stuff. Someone who had so much potential, so much promise, is now reduced to this. So what I'm going to do when I turn off this camera is I'm going to say yet another prayer for this woman, that she stops and that she course corrects. But unfortunately, I don't think this is going to stop. I think that this is just the beginning of a more heightened and just gross, disgusting display. It's just going to get worse. It's just going to be an avalanche of weird, distorted messages, pictures, videos. I don't know. I don't know, but I really feel that these children, however they came in the world, and whether they're in their care 24/7 or not, I just really feel for them, because they are the ones that are caught in this crossfire between these 2 idiots that want to be relevant and rich and famous, and that is the goal. That is the goal. And being stewards and guardians, parents of 2 children, that's on the lower end of the totem pole for them. And it's just really sad. Now for me, it's just pity. Yes, I'm talking about her, which is exactly what she wants us to do, but we're not talking about her or thinking about her in the way that she wants us to, because at this point it's disgust and it's just pure pity. It's sad. I think that we are witnessing the self-imploding of a human being. She doesn't think, act, or present in the way of a normal human being. I don't know if she's demonically possessed or what it is, but her focus, her laser beam focus, is just about getting attention and getting fame and money to the exclusion of everyone in her life, including herself.